You are facing the current Hôtel de Ville, the city hall, but you're also facing Saint-Chinian's history, as these buildings sheltered one of the first Benedictine abbeys of the region. This is not the original building, which was destroyed in 1578 during the Wars of Religion, but the group of buildings built in 1650. Before you discover the cloister, which has been superbly restored, let's go back in time a little bit. Man has lived in the valley and the hillsides of the Vernazobres since prehistoric times. But Saint-Chinian originated with the abbey, dedicated to Saint-Agnan. It was built in 826 in a place called Olocien. It was commissioned by Durand, who was acquainted with Louis the Pious, and Benoit of Agnan. People obeyed the Benedictine rules here. The day was organised in 3 parts: communal prayers, manual work and intellectual work. In the early days the population was scattered, but soon the dwellings gathered around the monastery and formed a city called Saint-Agnan d'Olocien until the end of the 16th century. It was then called Saint-Chinian de la Corne for a while and finally Saint-Chinian. The history of the city is closely connected to that of the abbey until 1789, when it was abandoned by the monks. The cloister has survived, and we invite you to go in and you will learn more about the history of the place.
As early as the Middle Ages, the monks were able to exploit the natural resources of water. For example, a derivation from the Canal de l'Abbé ran through the cloister. There were several mills, La Rive and the Pont de l'Ermite, and also 2 fulling mills, Tournefeuille and Sceaux, as well as dye works. The city's main resources were pig farming, wheat, olive groves, vineyards and drapery. In the 10th century, to protect against invaders, the religious erected fortifications and a defensive tower, the Nemourouz Tower. The church's steeple was built on its foundations. As early as 1351, the inhabitants were emancipated by Pierre IV de Boyer. But it was after Renaud de Vallon bestowed a new charter in 1465 that the population started to grow in earnest. Tanners settled here, farms grew larger, and some even turned into actual hamlets. Thanks to the wool provided by the herds, the city went from a farming to a trade economy and then enjoyed a long period of prosperity. Unfortunately, the wars of religion put a temporary end to this golden age. The city and its abbey were ravaged. Reconstruction started around 1650 with the return of peace. In the 17th century, Saint-Chinian was prosperous. Grain, wine, fulling mills and wool cloth manufactures generated great activity and trade overseas, mainly with the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Unfortunately, 2 centuries later, the advent of cotton and products imported from England and Spain brought their downfall. During the Revolution, the abbey was sold. It was bought back by the city in the 19th century. You can now admire its carefully restored vestiges.